Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. I have not done a new episode of Let's Talk Ray Bradbury since March, so let's see if I remember how to do this. Let's Talk Ray Bradbury is the show here on Let's Talk Entertainment, where beginning way back in 2018, I've been on this journey of attempting to locate, read, and do a very short review of each short story written by the late great Ray Bradbury in his very long career. That story count is somewhere around 600. Today's review is number 306, so I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of halfway. I'm thinking I'm probably past halfway because I think that 600 number is a little bit high. But for today, I'm going to kick off this next batch of stories by reading from the Collected Stories of Ray Bradbury, a critical edition volume 1, which came out in 2010 from Kent State University Press. Here it is. This book has been perpetually overpriced. I did find a used copy that came from a library. The used copy was still pretty expensive, but I've been meaning to get my hands on this book collection for quite some time. I think there's 23 stories in the main body of the text, and then there's like another 9 stories in the appendices. Some of those are from his pre-professional era. Also, there's some earlier versions of stories that appear in the body of the main book. And one such story is today's story from 1941, The Pendulum. There is also an earlier version of this story that was written in 1939. It was subsequently rewritten before being published. If you're new to the channel and the show, the way that this works is I do a very brief synopsis of what happens in the story, sort of all the plot, character, action, sort of a blow-by-blow account of what goes on. And then I wrap up with very light analysis, just a few thoughts and things about what it all means, where does it stack up, do I like it? And I mainly do this for my own entertainment. I hope that you enjoy these stories, these reviews. So I encourage you to go out, find the story, read it first, and come back to my video later. But here we go. So in The Pendulum, bird-like alien creatures come down to Earth. They find it ruined, and they're here to explore. There's basically nothing left except for a tower, and in that tower is a glass pendulum, and in that pendulum is the corpse or the skeleton of one human being, and also an old notebook. One of the aliens begins to translate the notebook, from which point on the story is told from the point of view of John Layeville, who is the writer of the text, and we find out that he was a scientist, and many thousands of years earlier, presumably, he invented a time machine. His peers ridiculed him. They didn't believe he could do it, and so he set up an exhibition where in his lab there was hundreds of renowned scientists who were going to see him fail or succeed. He switches on the machine, something happens, it arcs electricity throughout the room. Many of these scientists are killed. There are a few survivors. He's lightly injured himself, but not much, and he's subsequently imprisoned. One of the survivors, who never believed him, comes up with a supposedly ingenious way of punishing him. He has the machine dismantled, and it's turned into a pendulum, and he's suspended above the city to be imprisoned. And here he is, rocking back and forth with the world going by outside of his view. They feed him from a tube. They send food and supplies down this tube into this pendulum, and eventually he convinces them, one of the minders, to send him a notebook, and he begins to write his story. As time goes on, it becomes increasingly clear that something has happened with this pendulum. Some sort of time field has inexplicably been activated, probably because this is made from the parts of his time machine. And he perceives that the world is passing him by, and before long, he's been there 200 years. There's 5 generations of people have come and gone, and they scarcely know who he is or why he's there, but they perceive that he is probably immortal. He certainly has longevity, and they want to figure this out. They can't figure it out. But over time, he begins to see humans less and less frequently. He sees more robots. They've invented robots. Those robots are taking on more and more greater roles in society. The people have mainly retreated into their towers and have sort of forgotten him completely. Eventually, the robots rebel. They destroy all of the humans, and they take over. And even the robots after a while, no longer come to see them. They rig up a system where it's automated and food is sent to him. His waste is cleaned up, but he really has no communication with anyone. But he can see the world going on continually, very much changing. Eventually, these black gelatinous alien creatures come down from outer space. They wipe out all of the robots. They seem hell-bent on destroying all signs of civilization. And they pretty much do that, except for they can't manage to destroy this pendulum where he is at, so they get bored and they leave. With all of humanity and its remnants gone, eventually he perceives that the pendulum begins to slow. Presumably, he's not being fed anymore, but the world slows down, and his last words are, "I feel so strange." And of course, we are to know that he eventually dies and is to be found by those aliens, those bird-like creatures from the beginning of this story. So, I really enjoyed this. Okay, so it's not his best writing, and that makes sense because it's very early in his career. But I was very much reminded of the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft. This story very much follows some of the beats of The Shadow Out of Time. In the core of that story, by Lovecraft, you have the man recounting his history and being put into the body of another being and sent back through time, and sort of seeing how mankind's rise and fall and replacements happens over many eons. So it very much reminded me of that, and it has that sort of frightening nature about it. But it also has, well, it's less lush than Lovecraft, but it does have some of the hallmarks of Bradbury. Even if it's not Bradbury at his smoothest, this is a guy who's pretty easygoing with his language, and he just has a way of sort of caressing you through these halls of imagination, and you believe it. You accept it. It has science fiction anglings about it, but it's very much, I would say, more of a pulp story, where the science is not necessarily that important. You don't need to know why it works or how it works. You just need to know that it works, and you sort of allow yourself to go along with that one big ask, which is time travel is real. There's lots of themes going on here. I think one is fear of science. His peers, ridicule him. They think time travel is stupid. Despite the fact that they're supposed to be brilliant scientists, they can't sort of see past their own egos to what he could possibly give to them, which is time travel. So that is very much a ever-present theme in society. I think scientists right now, despite making breakthrough after breakthrough, I think are under a little bit of attack, along with academia. Another theme would be this idea of incarceration and revenge as punishment, but not necessarily having quite the desired effect that they hoped. Here's somebody who is locked away, but also put on display. This is the ego of the injured parties wanting a way to punish this person, but it doesn't work out that way because he is in fact granted long life, and he is granted the ability to see how time passes after that. And that's ultimately what he wanted in the first place, right? He wanted to build a time machine. So he basically becomes a time traveler regardless of whether he physically travels through time or whether he was giving longevity in this protective apparatus of this pendulum. It also speaks, I guess, to the idea of man being temporary, but also our own worst enemy. We are creating things, AI and whatnot, and some of these things are outliving us, and they could also destroy us. That's an ever-present part of Bradbury in his fiction, especially even early on, right to the really beginning. I think it speaks to this importance of the study of history, and then being able to see it all laid out before us. And the way that we do that, we don't have time travel, but we do have writing. And here it is. It's his writings, his written works that leaves behind the story of mankind for this race that comes after. And I think that is very important. And that is sort of maybe the most important part of writing in general, even fiction. Fiction tells us more about each other than you might think. It doesn't have to be literal history, factual history. Our legends are important. Our stories are important. The way that we use fiction to explore our own humanity and our own universe. And Bradbury, very early on in his career, already exploring big topics in a very pulpy, sort of lowbrow way. So yeah, I would highly recommend this story, especially if you're a completist who wants to sort of know the origins of Ray Bradbury. It's fun. It's not as polished as some of his later works. You know, it's a little bit fragmented, but it works. And I think that if you're a Lovecraft fan in particular, you're going to like this Bradbury story. So there it is, The Pendulum. Next time, we'll be looking at the second story in this collection, which is called Gabriel's Horn. It was written in 1942, and I think it's 41. I think I wrote that down wrong. Let me check that out quick for you. Yeah, written in 1941, same as The Pendulum, but it was not published until 1943, so be sure to check back in a few days and find out what that is all about. And then we will continue to work through this collection. The final victim, the piper, the candle, is that you, Bert, eat, drink, and be wary. Promotion to satellite, Chrysalis, the early version. There's a later version, or later story called Chrysalis. Totally different story. Subterfuge, The Parallel, and then The Silence, Morgue Ship, Tomorrow and Tomorrow, The Monster Maker, King of the Gray Spaces, I Rocket, Undersea Guardians, Hollerboken's Dilemma, Hollerboken's Comes Back, Don't Get Technical, Luna the Living, It's Not the Heat, It's the Who, The Secret, and The Tale of Mangla Drovovich. So that's a mouthful. This is going to be fun these next couple of months. I hope that you will subscribe, like all of my videos, leave a polite comment below, hopefully, and I'll see you again next time with something that I'm sure will be weird. See you later.